Hi, I'm Angela Vinet, and I'm here with Jay Killoran from Alienated Beer. Do you want to just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So with Alienated, it's the Alienated Beer Dinner Series. And we created this about 4 years ago. And what we try to do with them is it's all about educating the people of Cornwall about craft beer. So what we do is we choose one restaurant, and we choose one Ontario craft brewery. We choose 4 beers from that particular brewery, and we hand that over to the chef. So here's an opportunity for the chef of that local restaurant to now play and experiment and pair a dish that will go with each of the different beers that we have. So we also bring in a representative from the brewery who comes in and introduces the brewery, introduces each of the beers, gives a little bit of background on each of the beers as well. I'm also a level 2 beer specialist with the Prud'homme Beer Certification Program. And what's interesting about that, so I am scheduled for my level 3 in the new year, but what's interesting about that is that for the first time here in Cornwall in April, we will be hosting a level 1 beer enthusiast course. And so with those types of courses, what we do is we just want to introduce the beer ingredients, the brewing process, a little bit about styles, and of course a lot of tasting as well.
I've noticed over the years that craft beer is starting to become more and more popular.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I moved back to Cornwall 5 years ago, other than a few fairly local craft beer taps, it wasn't a whole lot. But I find over the last 5 years, it's grown quite a bit, and our selection here in town has grown quite a bit.
I've noticed that. So you're here today to talk about Christmas and what beers you could serve during your Christmas party or gatherings.
Absolutely, yeah. So we've chosen 4 beers. We've wanted to choose beers from local enough breweries and regional breweries. And so what we have here is we have a beer from Tuc de Brew, we have a beer from the Castle Brewery in Castleman, we have a beer from Bose, and then of course our own local brewery, Reuben.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. So I guess do we get a little bit more detailed on each of the beer and a
Absolutely,
little bit of a taste?
Absolutely. So this very first one here, as I mentioned, is Tuc de Brew, and this beer here is called Tuc Dotty. So this is a Canadian pale ale. So you'll notice with this one is that it's a very crisp, clean beer to be drinking. It also has lots of carbonation. So you'll see that, that nice little fluffy head that it has on there. So that head is designed to protect the beer and from oxidation. It helps keep the carbonation inside that beer as well. And we'll let you have a quick little sip here and see if you can pick out some of the characteristics of it.
Oh, you're right. It is very light. Almost... Yeah. Not champagne-y, but definitely a little bit more bubble to it.
Yeah, there's lots of bubble. What's nice about the bubbles in here is that it helps cleanse the palate. And so again, with this beer here, you're going to get a little light fruitiness from the hops, lots of cereal grains from there as well. So at only 4.5% alcohol, it actually does have quite a bit of flavor to it as well.
Mm-hmm. So what would you suggest pairing this with? What would you, how would you serve this?
Yeah, well, so you notice the carbonation.
Yep.
So what's nice about that carbonation is that it helps cleanse the palate. And so things like cheeses and meats will go very well with this particular beer because after every bite, it helps, again, kind of cleanse that palate.
Fantastic.
Yes. So if we want to move on to the next one. So this one here, again, is a beer from the Castle Brewery in Castleman. So Tuc de Brew is out of Embrun. But not too far down the road, we have Castle Brew. And this one here is their honey brown ale. So right away, you're going to notice some honey. You're going to notice some caramel in there, a little bit of hazelnut as well. So you can go ahead and try that one.
Okay, so very different from the first one.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So this one would be considered maltier. So a little bit more body, a lot more sweetness. I don't know if you were able to pick
I was
out
able
any
to
of the honey.
taste the caramel and the honey in it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So with that, what's interesting is that there's actually no honey in this beer.
Oh.
So all those, all that sweetness is coming from the grain that they're using in their beer.
Perfect. That was very, very yummy, actually.
So this one here, in regards to pairings, if you want to do some of that contrast, right? So you have that sweet and salty kind of an idea. So this one here is great when you're just snacking over the holidays, you're snacking on the salty foods and the chips and the peanuts. That's actually a nice one to go along with it. And but of course, the sweetness in here would pair very well with your turkey dinner also.
Okay, interesting. I'm learning so much about beer today.
That's the plan. So now we're getting into a very large beer. So not only in size of bottle, but this is a 9% Belgian triple, sorry, and it's called New Lang Syne from Bose. This is one of their seasonal beers. So this is a beer that you can only get over the holidays. And there's a whole lot going on in this particular beer. So this is a beer that has been aged in white wine barrels. So I believe it's a Pinot Grigio from the Niagara region. And what they've also done with this beer is that they've re-fermented, they've added champagne yeast into the bottle.
Okay.
So it's a secondary fermentation inside the bottle itself. And so you'll notice that nice fluffy head, lots of carbonation to this one as well.
Definitely a celebratory beer.
And that's really what this one is all about. So this one is big enough to cut through the fats of a turkey and you know, the dressing and all the rest of the fatty foods that we tend to have over Christmas. So this would definitely cut through all of that. But I think the idea for this one is when you're celebrating, when you're counting down to the new year, based on the size and the amount of beer that's in here, it's a beer that you're going to share with others. But it's really nice wine characteristics coming out of this one here as well.
Great packaging as well, eh?
Yes, very much. Certainly eye-catching on the shelves. And then lastly, we have Reuben. So as I mentioned, this is our local brewery here in Cornwall, over on Cumberland and 4th. And this beer is called More Portly Than Stout. It is a robust porter. So this one here would be your dessert beer.
Okay.
So what you're going to notice with this one here is you're going to get some nice dark chocolates. You're going to get some nice coffee flavors as well.
Oh, absolutely. You can taste the coffee.
Yeah, yeah. So this was part of their anniversary beer this past year, just their first year in opening. So they celebrated that in the fall. So this was one of their beers to help celebrate that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Like I said, I definitely know a little bit more about beer. And I want to thank you so much for coming out and teaching us all about these wonderful beers in our local community.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.